Hey guys, how you going? Hope you're all doing very well. This evening I'm going to be doing another movie review, so hope you find this one interesting. This movie is a horror film from Australia, English language, released in the year 2017, directed by Ben Young, and this film is called Hounds of Love. So Hounds of Love is set in 1987 in Western Australia. You got this rebellious teenager who is basically doing things that their parents don't like. Her parents are separated recently and they're on the brink of getting divorced, and so that's playing a little bit of a negative effect on her psychology. She's got a boyfriend that she likes to be around, and her schoolwork is suffering as a result. So the mother one night says, look, you're not going to this party you want to go to because your grades are bad. Go to your room. So she goes to her room, but she escapes through the window. She dresses up and she's going to disappear into the evening and have a good time. But unfortunately, she never gets to the party because she's picked up by two strangers that promise her free marijuana. So they say, come back to our house, we'll give you the marijuana, a little bit of alcohol so you can really enjoy your night. So she goes back there, and this is where she realises all too late that they're in fact serial killers. So they tie her to the bed, or they chain her to the bed, and this is where she's going through systematic torture, both mentally and physically. And then all of a sudden she realises that the married couple, who are these psychopaths, they actually have a little bit of tension between them. So there's a little bit of insecurity there, and this girl realises that she's going to have to play on those insecurities if she has any chance of making it out of this ordeal alive. So whether or not she can is something you're going to have to find out for yourself, because that's as far as I'm going with my synopsis. Now my thoughts on Hounds of Love. Although this movie is not perfect, I thought there was a very minuscule problem with it. I would put it right up there with Wolf Creek, Killing Ground, and also Snowtown. So I think Snowtown is definitely one that stands above the rest as far as disturbing quality is concerned, but there's a lot of similarities with Hounds of Love, and that similarity is in the realism of suburbia. So the suburbia in this movie plays an absolutely pivotal role, is because it's all about the facade. It's all about the monotonous tone that suburbia has, and the monotonous tone that your next door neighbour might have. When you see him out in the street, you wouldn't think anything of him, but then all of a sudden we start to think, what would they be like in their personal life? You think to yourself, that guy looks pretty weird, he's probably a serial killer, and that imagination starts to run wild. And I thought the facade of suburbia in this movie allows the imagination to run wild, because the house next door is actually a battleground. It's hell, as this young girl is going through all these horrendous things, but you wouldn't think anything of it, because on the outside, as I said, it's all that picture perfect world. And so I thought that was terrifying. I thought, as I said, basing it in the suburbs, I live in the suburbs in Australia, and it's not something you'd associate with evil. Evil belongs in movies, evil belongs in different countries, not here in suburbs in Australia. And so when you actually bring it home to your front doorstep, that's what makes it even more frightening. And the realism is complemented by realistic characters. I thought that the dynamic, not only in the sinister sort of element of this movie, but also the love, the Hounds of Love, that love plays a very pivotal role as well. And this is not something you would expect from this type of movie. You expect just a girl being held captive and she's got to escape these maniacs. But this movie gives those maniacs human quality, and so it is your next door neighbour. It is someone that you wouldn't look at twice as far as an evil person is concerned. But as I said, it's all about that facade. It's all about that monotony. It's all about that daily routine that you become very complacent in. And this is why a lot of serial killers actually don't get detected until it's all too late. And so when you get movies with werewolves, vampires, all these monsters that are make-believe, you can disconnect yourself from them. So it's not as terrifying, but the most terrifying monster is the human being. And this is what the movie does so well, is that it gives these psychopathic qualities, but it also gives it qualities that you can relate to. So these are, as I said, this could be your next door neighbour, this could be your friend, but what is your friend doing behind closed doors? And this is where, as I said, the imagination runs wild, and this is where the movie really excels, because it's not a gratuitous film, it's not graphic violence for the sake of being it, it's not an exploitation movie. And so exploitation and graphic violence, it does lessen the impact quite considerably, but this movie uses a lot of sound. It's all about what you hear as opposed to what you see, and as I said, it doubles as that symbolic meaning of the facade of everything is okay, but behind closed doors, what is going on? And so there are some scenes where some horrible things happen, but you don't see it. So whether it's a guy who closes the door and then it's followed by screaming, and you're left thinking, what is going on? Oh God, that doesn't sound very good. But as I said, it's forcing that monster inside your mind to actually come out, and that is what I think is the most scariest thing. And so that's complemented absolutely phenomenally well by a phenomenal soundtrack that helps contribute to that very scary impact. You've also got phenomenal cinematography. I thought this is an absolutely beautiful film to look at. There's very slow motion shots, especially at the start, that I thought really captured the mood. And when it combines with the soundtrack, it just gives you that very eerie feeling. This is not a movie that hits you over the head with a sledgehammer to get your attention. This is a movie that gently taps you on the shoulder, that makes you basically, the hairs on the back of your neck stand up. This is a movie that just gradually starts to wear you down, and it hits you over the head with something that is very, very evil. This movie really, really disturbed me. There are some scenes that were truly hard to watch, even though you can't really see it, and it's basically proof that implying something can just be as terrifying as actually seeing something, because your imagination can be the worst monster out there. But that's not even the best part of this movie. The best part of this movie was the acting. You've got Stephen Curry, who is a very familiar face in Australian cinema. He's a comedian. He's also in a lot of mild films. There's an Australian comedy classic called The Castle, where he was one of the kids. He is a household name, but you don't associate him with sinister roles, and I thought his role in this film was absolutely phenomenal. This is a guy who was terrifying, but in the next minute he could be loving. And so this relationship, and this is where this teenage girl starts to manipulate their relationship, and you think to yourself, okay, well, it doesn't need unrealistic qualities in this movie for her to escape. Maybe she just has to play on their mind, and maybe it's just a battleground of, psychological battleground and a game of wits. But you're never quite sure if she'll ever do it. But when she starts to manipulate, you start to sense that these people are very insecure as well. So they're not bulletproof. They're not monsters that you can disconnect yourself from. And so, yeah, Stephen Curry, you've got Emma Booth and also Ashley Cumming, who do phenomenal work. Yeah, it's basically a strong emphasis on three characters, and those three characters, the dynamic within this house, I thought was sinister, and it was also showing you the power of love and how sometimes we can try to substitute love, and when you don't get what you want, this is how you can take it out, the consequences of actually trying to force love. And so you've also got themes of motherhood, you've got themes that involve dogs that I'm not going to tell you about, but that was very hard to actually stomach as well. So it's basically the animalistic quality of love and how love can be very, very twisted. So that was all very good. I thought the continuity was fantastic. As I said, an extreme film without being graphic, and so that was all very, very good. And I thought the runtime was perfect, absolutely perfect. But unfortunately, there is one thing that prevents this movie from being a masterpiece. I didn't really like the way it finished right at the end. Now, yes, it does hit you with a lot of emotion, but I thought to myself, here's a movie that is about serial killers, and that is very different, and it's giving it a humane quality, and as I said, that terrifying quality of the facade of everyday life, but what is your next door neighbour actually doing? But then right at the end, it does go down a very familiar track, and I thought to myself, okay, well, it doesn't derail it, it's not a terrible ending, but I thought it could have stayed true to the overall tone. I just thought it was a slightly different tone, and it was not really complementing what the rest of the film had going for it. So I'm not going to give anything away. I can't talk about it much more than that, but I just thought the ending could have been a little bit better, and that would have been icing on the cake. But having said that, movies like this need to be applauded for my country, and that is the reason why I'm going to give Hounds of Love 4.5 stars. Alright guys, that's it for my review. Hope you enjoyed it. Till next time, keep watching movies, and I'll see you there. Bye.